Steve Hilton, former advisor to the UK's David Cameron and host of The Next Revolution here on the Fox News Channel. All right, good evening, Steve. You worked for David Cameron in the UK. Tell us what's going on at 10 Downing Street right now.
They're going to be scrabbling to get all the information that they can, and they're going to be trying to understand whether this is over or whether there's more to come. And I think there's going to be a lot of panic. You've got to remember this is all happening in the middle of a general election campaign. This is now the third incident in a short space of time. We had the Westminster Bridge attack, you had the Manchester attack, and now this one. And they're going to be thinking, well, you know, what's going on? And is there going to be more between now and the general election?
Let me interrupt you for a moment, Steve. Hold on a second. You know, 3 attacks in less than 10 weeks, as you say, Manchester, Westminster, and today the London Bridge and Borough Market. We're in the middle of a Prime Minister campaign. We've got Theresa May, who, when she was Home Secretary, was kind of in favor of, you know, live and let live, let everybody in. And now we've got her running against the former head of the Labour Party, or he may still be, Jeremy Corbyn. What does the electorate in the UK do? Who is the person who is most right? Who is going to be the person they vote for, given, I imagine, a frustration based on the number of attacks and the reduction of the terror threat as well?
You've just got to the heart of it, Judge, and I think that the real answer, sadly, is that nobody is getting it right. Theresa May is more right than Corbyn, I've got no doubt about that. She is a serious leader. She does her homework. She's a tough lady. But let's be honest about what's going on here. I bet you, let's take a bet right now, that when we get the full information, that this attack will have been carried out by young Muslim men, and they will be known to the authorities. We hear that every single time. And what really shocked me about the Manchester attack, obviously our hearts went out to the victims and their families and everyone who was connected. But do you know what was really shocking? A few days after that, the security services in the UK briefed the media that there are 23,000 jihadis that they know about you know, in the UK, Steve, and there's only 3,000 that they're actually following.
We don't know who has done this. We don't know the identities of the individuals who've done it. And I don't necessarily disagree with you, but we can't get ahead of it right now. My biggest concern is what former FBI Assistant Director said, Jim Kallstrom, a few minutes ago here, that the way we deal with this is a reactionary you know, paradigm. Yes. That what do we do now to prevent this kind? It's just going to keep happening.
I completely agree with that point, and that's why I'm saying that when you have the British security services saying publicly that they know of 23,000 jihadis in the UK, but that they are only tracking 3,000, that's 20,000 that they say that they know about, but they're not tracking. That says to me that the authorities have practically surrendered in this fight. And so when they come out with all their fine words and say, we're doing everything we can to keep people safe, it's not true.
Okay,
the fight against terror is not being fought with the full arsenal of the state. And I think people have every right to be angry.
Why are the people in the UK not up in arms? Why do we have 2 people running for Prime Minister, one who's even more left than the other, and the Prime Minister having been a Home Secretary in favor of, you know, let them all in? What about Brexit?
It's a really good point. I mean, I just completely agree with you. I think that the first thing on Brexit is that in terms of the impact of that on immigration, you know, Brexit was voted for but hasn't yet been delivered. So that's going to take some time. But there's a real problem in the UK with this fight not being carried out fully. Let's go beyond immigration. There's another really important word beginning with I, and that is integration. There is a huge problem around the UK with many parts of the country where people who they're just not integrated in the UK into UK society.
Okay, what do you mean by that, Steve? What do you mean not integrated?
That means you have Muslim communities around the UK. This was an official government report published in December, where huge proportions don't speak English, are not fully integrated. They are not part of mainstream culture. And that has been the result of decades of official policy of multiculturalism, which has said that you can come to the UK and you can carry on with the traditions and the values that are not part of what we all support in the UK. You don't have to learn English. You don't have to be part of mainstream society.
But
all of that
Steve,
contributes to the...
Steve, here's the bottom line. That sounds great, except the UK, your country, where you live, is staying left. They're not doing anything about it. But now you're living in the States, Steve. Now, what do you think? Do you think this is coming here next? I mean, is this just a precursor of what's to come?
No, I think it's not. And I think that there's three reasons, actually, that give me confidence that we're in a much better position in America, although, of course, we have to be vigilant. The first is the whole idea of America. When people move to America, they come here because they want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And the whole culture of America is of integrating people behind one idea that we're all citizens in one country. And that is very strongly supported.
Are you saying, Steve, that we are more open arms than the people in UK are, that we're more welcoming?
No, I think that it's not that we're welcoming. I think that once people get here, that they buy into what it means to be an American citizen. Of course, there may be exceptions, but generally speaking, I think there's a stronger sense of a melting pot where different cultures, wherever they retain their differences, but also buy into the idea of America.
Let's hope so.
Secondly, we had 9/11, and after that there was a good, thorough review of security, and I think that led to some improvements. But most importantly, we've got a president now who takes this really seriously and has put some really serious people in charge. And instead of micromanaging them for political reasons, is letting the professionals do what they need to do to protect us. So I think for all those reasons, we can be much more confident about what's going on here in America.
The problem is very simple. When the courts are ruling against the president, he can have the best of intentions. But if he doesn't have that, then we're in big trouble. Anyway, Steve Hilton, listen, good luck tomorrow night. Thanks so much for being with us this evening.